Today on DaleWileyShow.com, we visit with Mike Griffith, who is an amazing beat writer and also one of the most positive guys I've met. And I also want to talk about how he developed that in the light of all the things he has to deal with on the Paul Finebaum show.
Well, I think it's so interesting because I'm always interested in, you just have such an upbeat personality, and that just, shines through in whatever you do. And I just think that your attitude, is an incredible, even just, I'm a Georgia fan, but, you can turn anybody into whatever you do. And I mean, you're just an incredibly, upbeat guy. That's
Well, I've been fortunate. So much of this has to do with who you know and who gives you opportunities. I mean, like this interview you're doing with me now. I mean, I've never had a chance to spend a whole lot of time with you, and yet, it meant a lot to me, that you were interested in what I had to say. Or, Paul Finebaum has me on the SEC network.
Well, and that's one of the things that he loves.
Well, it didn't start that way. Let me tell you.
Okay,
I got to tell you. Well, it's funny. I mean, it's funny looking back, but it all kind of started with Paul in 2016. I think, was it 2016? Yeah, Tennessee. When I went back to Tennessee, now everybody's got a short memory, it seems like. And if it's not on Google, it didn't happen. So a lot of these Tennessee fans are like, who's this guy? And I'm like, I'm the guy that covered the program for 14 years between 98 and 2012. Well, that was before the Finebaum show and before Twitter, apparently. So I would go on the show, and I thought the 2016 Tennessee team was just dynamite with Josh Dobbs and Jalen Hurd before he went south on him, and obviously Kamara. And they also had two NFL receivers. Everybody forgets about Josh Malone and Preston Williams, much less I mean, that team was just loaded. The offense was up-tempo, and they started that and I picked them before the season to win the SEC East, and they started the year 5-0. They beat Virginia Tech. They beat a good Ohio team, which a lot of people don't realize when you play those type of teams and they're like league champions. Those guys are used to winning. They don't go away easy. There's some teams that are easier by games than others. Ohio and Appalachian State were not easy by games.
Right.
So they beat those two teams, and they beat Virginia Tech, and then they beat Florida, and then they beat Georgia, and they were 5-0 and ranked in the top 10 for the first time in 10 years. That's where Butch Jones had them, and things were rolling along great. But injuries started to happen. They lost Jalen Reeves-Maben, an NFL linebacker. They lost a cornerback that was drafted by the Steelers. Then they lost 6 defensive linemen, and they played this game in Texas A&M. And it was a shootout. It was like double overtime, 54-40. I can't remember if it was 54-40, something crazy like that. But there were bodies by the end of the day, there were bodies all over the field. I mean, it was an ESPN game day deal between two top 10 teams, and A&M was on fire. And then after that, Alabama and Tennessee was just that Tennessee team. Too many guys injured, hurt. And then here comes Alabama. I mean, holy cow, what a start to the season when you look at that schedule. And they just got lambasted, and they were just never the same. Now, they set a single-season record for offense that year, and but they were just never the same. And then 2017 happened. But anyway, so the Finebaum stuff. So 2017 happened, when Butch Jones only won 9 games in his third straight bowl game. People were like, well, he's got to be fired. It's time to fire him. He didn't get us where we wanted. We got to fire Butch Jones. So the drums started beating, and Paul would say, Mike, you're the beat writer. Tell us what's going to happen. Well, after they lost to Florida in 2017, John Curry had taken over as the athletic director.
Right.
And like any good beat writer, I'm going to talk to John Curry and boosters about the head coach's tenure and what's going on. So I had a pretty good pulse on this, but I'd go on Paul's show, and he'd say, well, Mike, they lost again this week to, Georgia. Is this when Butch Jones gets fired? I'd say no, and I would know this because I would have talked to the booster or the AD, and I know that the last thing a new AD wants to do is hire a new football coach, because as soon as he hires a new football coach, he's tied to that guy, and if that guy doesn't work, then the AD's gone. So the AD is going to be very reluctant to fire a football coach in any situation. And the boosters were still behind Butch Jones. Why? Because Peyton Manning was still behind Butch Jones. And if Peyton liked him, then everybody liked him. But
Right.
that's not the message that Paul wanted to hear. So he'd say, and he's an ex, and he's theatrical, and he said, you mean to tell me, Mike, that after a 41-0 loss, that Butch Jones is still the best man for this? And I'd say, I'm not telling you that, but they're not going to. And then he'd say, well, give me a reason. Give me a reason why Tennessee should keep us. Well, last year they set a single-season record for offense. They outdid what Peyton Manning and David Cutcliffe did.
To hear the whole interview, go over to DaleWileyShow.com and learn more.